Imagine this. It's the Middle Ages, the year 1400. Night falls, candles are snuffed out, and people crawl into their straw beds. But here's the twist: most folks didn't sleep straight through the night like we do. Nope. They had two separate sleeps. The first sleep, a midnight break, then a second sleep until dawn. Sounds weird? Well, stick around, because this bizarre habit reveals a lot about medieval life, and it might even be healthier than how we sleep today. This pattern was called segmented sleep. People would snooze for about 4 hours, wake up for 1 or 2 hours, and then head back to bed for their second sleep. What did they do in that middle of the night gap? Surprisingly, a lot. They prayed, read by candlelight if they were wealthy, visited neighbors, or even shared some intimate time with their spouse. Imagine the town buzzing quietly at 2 a.m., a whole different nightlife than ours. Why did this strange routine exist? The answer lies in darkness. Before electricity, nights were really long. In winter, darkness could stretch for 14 hours. Human bodies naturally slipped into 2 phases of rest. Sleep researchers today even argue it might be closer to our biology than the modern 8-hour stretch. In fact, if you cut people off from artificial light, they start showing the same 2 sleeps pattern within weeks. Creepy coincidence or proof medieval folks were onto something? But here's the juicy part. That midnight break wasn't just about prayer. Some used it to gossip, visit neighbors, or, believe it or not, settle business deals. There are even records of peasants getting up to chop wood or tend animals during the watch. Imagine striking a bargain or feeding cows at 1 a.m, while today most of us are tossing and turning, staring at the ceiling. Medieval midnight wasn't lazy, it was productive. And for couples, this first sleep pause was perfect timing. Medieval medical texts even recommended it. They claimed the body was more relaxed after a few hours of rest, making that midnight window ideal for marital intimacy. In a world without alarm clocks and crowded schedules, the night naturally offered its own rhythm. So instead of seeing midnight as wasted time, medieval people treated it as a second chapter of their evening. Historical documents are full of references to first sleep and second sleep. A French doctor in the 16th century casually mentioned it in a medical manual, as if everyone already knew. In England, diaries and court records describe people waking after first sleep to talk or pray. It wasn't considered strange at all. This was the normal way to rest. If anything, our modern 8-hour stretch would have seemed unusual to them. So why did this practice fade away? The answer is simple. Artificial light. With the rise of street lamps, candles becoming cheaper, and eventually gas and electricity, nights no longer felt endless. People stayed awake longer in the evenings, went to bed later, and suddenly there wasn't time for a 2-part night. Industrial life demanded tighter schedules, and the segmented sleep slowly disappeared. But here's a twist. When modern scientists placed volunteers in dark rooms with no clocks or electricity, their bodies naturally slipped back into segmented sleep after a few weeks. It's as if our brains still remember that medieval rhythm. Some researchers believe our restless nights today, waking up at 3 a.m, might actually be echoes of that old pattern. Instead of being broken, maybe it's perfectly natural. Think about it. Medieval people weren't just idly passing time. Some scholars suggest many prayers, poems, and even songs were born during those quiet hours. In a world without distractions, the silence of midnight was a canvas for imagination. What if that's something we've lost? And here's the big question. Was their way actually healthier? Many sleep experts argue that dividing rest into 2 sessions might reduce stress and match our natural cycles. Medieval people didn't call it insomnia for them. Waking at midnight was simply part of life. Maybe the modern obsession with one unbroken block of sleep is the real historical oddity. Medical guides of the time even gave advice. Spend those waking hours in prayer, gentle conversation, or reflection. For peasants, it was often a chance to finish chores. For monks, it was sacred. But whether in a stone chapel or a simple hut, everyone shared the same rhythm. Night was not silent. It was alive. Monks, especially, turned segmented sleep into devotion. Rising after first sleep, they filled dark chapels with chants, their voices echoing off the cold stone. Outside, villages slumbered, Inside, night was transformed into a ladder toward heaven. For them, waking at midnight was not strange, it was holy. Ordinary families used those hours differently. Parents told stories by the fire, children listened wide-eyed, and old legends spoke of spirits wandering between the first and second sleep. The dark wasn't just frightening, it was magical, a space for tales and bonds that daylight rarely allowed. So, what seems like broken sleep to us was a rich part of medieval life. Those midnight hours gave people time for faith, work, love, and imagination. They didn't see waking in the dark as failure, they saw it as opportunity. And maybe that's the true lesson. Rest isn't just about length, it's about rhythm. So next time you wake at midnight and wonder why, remember, for centuries that was perfectly normal. Medieval people embraced the pause between sleeps as a gift. Perhaps in rediscovering it, we glimpse a different way of living, where night is not a problem to fix, but a mystery to experience.